We'll call this meeting to order. It's the City of Rhinelander Common Council meeting. It's Monday, May 10th, 2021, 6 p.m. We are in the council chambers. The agenda has been posted and the media has been notified. Please call roll.
Christopher Frederickson.
Here.
Thomas Barnett.
Here.
Andrew Larson. Carrie Mikulowski.
Here.
Thomas Kelly.
Here.
Gerald Anderson.
Here.
David Holt.
Here.
Eileen Daniel.
Here.
Ryan Rossing.
Here.
Please rise. Alrighty. At the top of our agenda is public comments is received by the mayor, city clerk, or council members. I'm going to go with the city council received emails first, and then we'll move down the list. Eileen?
Good evening. I'm going to read a letter that was submitted by David Walters. Greetings and thank you for your time today. I intended to be there in person, however, I've come down with a cold and I'm unable to attend in person. My name is David Walters and I'm a lifelong Rhinelander resident. Roughly a year ago, I became aware of Oneida County's intent to sell a portion of Town Line Lake Park. This portion makes up the vast amount of usable space in the park, and I organized a petition to oppose the sale. Through that process, I've come into contact with several other community members who see the park's value to our town, and we've organized a group called the Friends of Town Line Lake Park. Our intent is to help maintain and develop the park that is widely used for fishing, nature photography, and families playing. Before these things can take place, we need to help show how cherished this park is, and how it is far more valued to us as a park than as a private property. Although the park isn't within city limits, it is frequently used by city residents, including myself and others. For that reason, I ask you, our city council members, mayor, and administrator, support the proposal being brought forward by Eileen Daniel today to help our efforts. This park has been a part of our community for over 100 years. Please join the effort to keep it here for generations to come. Thank you again for your time, and I look forward to working with you all on this matter and others.
Thank you. Any other constituents through their alderpersons? All right, we'll start at the top of the list. Brian, please state your name and where you live, and you have 2 minutes. Actually, to tell you the truth, I say that somewhat in jest because I will give you more than 2 minutes, but at the same time, this is quite a turnout.
So my name is Brian Mikulowski, and I live at 525 Lynn Street. So I've lived here my whole life. I didn't move here. I don't vacation here. I was born and raised here. And for as long as I can remember, I've enjoyed seeing the logging museum and the train in Pioneer Park from Oneida Avenue. Now that is in jeopardy. Now it goes without saying that the pickleball courts are a lot better to look at than the rundown tennis courts, and I enjoy seeing people using them. But this idea of putting a wind block up is a terrible idea for those of us that don't use the courts. No matter what anyone says, it will block the view of the museum. The new fence alone already impedes the view. We have to remember, this is Rhinelander's Pioneer Park, not Pickleball's park. They asked for the courts, they got them. They asked for the new fencing, they got them. I think enough is enough. This park represents the over 7,000 people in Rhinelander, not just the 150 that play pickleball. Please don't allow this wind block to happen. The residents and the tourists deserve to be able to see the beloved museum and train by just driving by with pride that this icon is in our city. Thank you.
Todd McEldowney. Go ahead, press the button. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I live on 705 Lakeshore Drive here in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. Hopefully you've had a chance to see the letters that were sent to the city administrator and to the mayor in support of the windscreens and the petition that has been signed by, as I understand it, over 50 people, not just residents who play pickleball, but people who recognize the necessity of having windscreens for our game of pickleball. I guess the question is, what is it about pickleball? It's a little plastic wiffle ball with holes in it that's very light. What is it about pickleball? Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the United States. Just last weekend, we had people from Shawano, Madison, and Milwaukee enjoying our courts. They loved the courts. Their only negative comment was, it just gets kind of windy. And that's very true. On a weekly basis, we have people coming from Manitowish Waters, Sugar Camp, Three Lakes, Eagle River, Wausau to enjoy our courts. And their comments are the same, it just gets a little bit windy. When we brought this idea to Daniel Guild, he basically said, well, it's not the city's prerogative to build pickleball courts. So he turned it over to us and to Jeremy and Public Works, and we worked in tandem to put together what we consider to be a facility that we're really proud of. Windscreens are as much a part of pickleball as backstops and fences in baseball or hockey boards. You need to have the windscreens in order to have a game of pickleball. From Oneida Avenue, the pickleball courts take up what, maybe 1/6, 1/7 of the view of the entire park. We did ourselves proud in putting together a good project. The first phase, which was approved by City Council, and we raised over $100,000 to put up these courts in place of those tennis courts that were an eyesore, all with private funding. And we're proud of those courts. And this windscreen is not a wind block, folks. We're talking about a transparent screen that you can see through, where you can see the logging museum, you can see the trains. And what I would say to you is, it's not a block. This is not something that is going to be a negative for the park. Quite to the contrary. It's something that people are going to see, and it's going to be something that's going to invite them to come into the park to see what exactly is going on there. And I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised what a wonderful project this is and what a state-of-the-art facility this is. They're only going to be up for 6 months. We will help put them down, roll them up, just as we help take down the nets and take down the posts. In funding these courts, what I think this shows is that Rhinelander is a progressive, forward-looking community that offers recreational opportunity. We will bring tournaments to this town that's going to bring families in that are going to spend their money here. But you're not going to have a tournament here in Rhinelander that's successful if we don't have windscreens. Take a look at Little Three Lakes. They have a huge tournament with a number of teams. They have windscreens. They have a big tournament. Our funding these courts is important. This is the second phase. The first phase was the courts that you see now. The second phase, which is no surprise, it was something that was discussed with Jeremy and with Public Works, and we are very appreciative of all the work that they've done. This is the second phase, and everybody's known about it. It involves, yes, windscreens and additional landscaping. We're not just talking about pickleball players here. The non-pickleball players recognize the importance of windscreens. We're good people here who are trying to do good things for the community. We work for charitable organizations. We have put in something that is something that we're really proud of. We do things like we help move the Habitat for Humanity. We've raised money for NATHA and for the food pantry, and we intend to continue to do so. And as part of our third phase, we're even looking at raising money to put up a pavilion that the entire community will be able to enjoy. The city is a service provider, and I would ask that you please listen to the members of the community that have responded here and know that as a user of the service involving pickleball, this is something that is important to us. It's a good thing for the community. It makes it a better product, and we thank you very much for your time.
John Federer? Is it Lee at the end of it or not? Do you pronounce the? Okay, thank you.
John Federley,
Thank you.
live at 247 Johnson Street in Ward 1. Todd didn't leave me much to say, except that we sat here in good faith with our storyboards or our pictures of the proposed unit. We had the support of the city council to proceed with that, and I think the city council needs to be progressive and follow through and keep their word on this project. We have, as Todd said, numerous people from the city that have signed a petition, most of which are not pickleball players. Well, half a dozen of them come right from that neighborhood over there across from the park. We've missed our chance in past to be progressive and latch on to good things. We don't have the bike trails as some of the northern cities do, but this is a draw for it. And we have 2 times, I understand, the number of people on the fringe of Rhinelander as are in the city, and those people come and contribute to this community. So to say that, there's only a few people in Rhinelander that play pickleball, you can't discount these people. They leave their money here at the merchants and the gas stations, the grocery stores, and they need to be represented also in this. So I urge the council to all look at this as a step forward. It's cost the city little to nothing so far, and we continue to pour our money and our dreams into this park and make it something that is an attraction for all kinds of people. Thank you for the time.
Nancy Federley? I'll pass it this time. Okay, thank you. Jane Running? Banning, sorry.
Well, I'm an outsider. I live way out in the town of Crescent. So anyway, I'm at 6679 Maple Tree Road. I was a part of the original group, the planning group, and was one of a couple of fundraisers and grant writers. I never imagined, and I've never seen a project come together this fast. Less than a year from conception to almost completion. So we're 3/4 of the way there. This was an incredible and invigorating project to be a part of because it moves so fast and so efficiently. We are 3/4 done. Surface, fencing, nets, windscreens. So let's do this completely. Thank you.
Dave Havel.
Hi, I'm Dave Havel, and I was here at during the process a year ago, whenever it was, when we talked about planning this. And the thing I guess that that I remember is you folks hired a planner to plan Pioneer Park, and it was all laid out. And I remember that person came back a second time to tweet, and I don't remember the priority of having a view of the logging museum being the top priority. In fact, I don't think I remember anybody mentioning that. And on that basis, along that process, you granted permission for us to put the courts in. Actually, I got to tell you that my family donated $5,000 to sponsor one of the courts, and we're really proud of that. It's a beautiful court, and I think it's terrific. And so I guess what I'm saying is that you're talking about now coming along saying that's the priority, is the view of the logging museum, when what you have now is a view of people who are having a blast, enjoying themselves in the park, which to me seems to be the intent of having a park in the first place, having people enjoy it and use it and having fun with it. So I guess what I'm saying is that I think I think the city should follow in with what they committed to do along the lines where you hired someone you looked at it, you analyzed it, you had comment, and you're starting to put the plan into place. All we're looking for is you to follow up with that plan. Thanks.
Steve Sauer.
Good evening, all. First off, thanks. It's a thankless job. No matter what decision you make, it will be wrong. We all know this. So, when I saw this item coming up, I wanted to come in and take a moment, and I unfortunately probably will not be here for discussion as my daughter has a band concert, but I wanted to throw out some history before I get to a personal opinion here. I live at 706 South Oneida Avenue. I am right across the street from the pickleball courts, as we all know. Some interesting things popped into my mind as I was thinking about this today. Number one, and I refuse to be one of those, when I was on council, we did this. But the last action that we took on this particular item under my tenure was approving the concept so that fundraising could occur. That was a big priority for the council. I'm not sure what discussion happened after that. I'm not sure what the council approved. I quite honestly don't work here anymore. So I don't have to worry about that so much. But we approved the concept so that fundraising could move forward. The big thing that pops into my mind is that parks plan. The parks plan, which portions of this council worked, I don't know, a year putting the parks plan together. The pickleball courts were in the parks plan. The initial location of the pickleball courts was essentially, the easiest way to explain it would be where the fair puts up the music tent. That was the initial location on the first draft of the parks plan. There was a lot of concern about the location because it was not visible. One of the big reasons that all of the buildings were being kind of moved to that central location was entirely the visibility, and there was a lot of discussion about that in this room, as the Logging Museum is central to this community, and it's something that this community pays for. One way or the other, whether it's tourist dollars tax or anything else, but it comes out of our pockets to fund a museum that we then hide. And the biggest complaint about the current tennis courts back then was that they're ugly, and there's this big fence, and it's blocking our museum, and we can't see it. So when we look at the parks plan was amended. The pickleball courts were moved. Our former administrator was very concerned about this. He voiced these concerns in public meetings because once you move something for one group, are you going to move something for every group? So I'm not sure what the final contract was with the group. I'm not sure what the final agreement was. But as far as the parks plan goes, the biggest complaint about the pickleball courts being way back there was because there's no visibility. We want people to see this. And I have no problem with seeing it. I know that when I went and looked at courts, I went all over. I didn't go to Three Lakes. I'm sorry. But I saw 4 and 5 foot fences at most of the pickleball courts that I saw. I guess I thought that's what we were looking at. Again, it's not anyone's fault that the fences are what they are. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not complaining. I'm simply stating that when I looked at pickleball courts, that's what we saw, was that 4 and 5 foot fence, unobtrusive, and that's just fine. I wasn't going to name names, but I might now. So, to follow that up, many years ago, there was a group that came to this council that wanted to build a basketball court where those pickleball courts are now. And there were a couple of people that came to this room and stood here and said, those are the only basketball court or tennis courts in town and we use them every day, you're taking away our ability to play tennis. Some of those same people are with this group that came in and replaced the pickleball courts. It's an amazing thing. They're great courts. They're way better than the tennis courts were. But that taught me the lesson that one or two people can come in and say something, and then you see abandoned tennis courts for 5 or 6 more years that just fall further into disrepair. That project was moved elsewhere. That project went on with Crescent School. They have, or Central School, they have very nice basketball courts over there. It would have been moving things around at Pioneer Park, but there were complaints. So the council backed down. I just want to throw this out there. When we, and again, I don't know what kind of formal contract there is with the group. I can't speak to that. But when we abandon the rest of the park for one group, no matter how amazing, and don't get me wrong, I think it's great. They're lovely. I think they're great. It degrades the park as a whole. And this is personal opinion time as a guy that lives across the street. I see those pickleball courts getting used more than, it's amazing. It really is. But one of the big concerns when this all started was visibility. Well, not just visibility of the logging museum, but visibility of the pickleball courts, because we want to show off these fancy new pickleball courts that we're going to get. And that visibility is gone if we put up wind blocks. The visibility of the rest of the park is gone, and every person that comes into town on 8 and sits at the stoplight at Kemp and looks straight ahead now sees a wall. A blockage, anything. When we discuss the parks plan, when we spent all of that time on the parks plan, if you look at that parks plan, and I'm sure it's floating around somewhere, one of the biggest concerns was visibility of the logging museum. It may not have been discussed in the pickleball discussions, but that's a piece of our history and a piece of our pride that I think we really need to hold on to. And with that being said, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Peggy Spencer Cohn. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm Peggy Spencer Cohen. I live at 237 North Baird Avenue, and I am talking about the looking at discontinuing the Hill Street extension at Baird Avenue. And there's a storm sewer drain that runs from Hill Street under Baird Avenue and empties on the west side of Baird Avenue into what would be the right-of-way of that anticipated road. So I'm concerned on how this is being handled now and how it will be handled if the land is sold and developed. Currently, it appears that the stormwater drainage is backing up onto our property into our pond. And I'm expecting due diligence to handle this correctly. Thank you.
Maggie Cush.
Hi, my name is Maggie Cush. I live at 324 North Baird Avenue. I'm here to speak on not extending Hill Street, which I think is reading the mumbo jumbo, what the board has proposed. I see people whipping down Baird at all times of day and night. There's plenty of traffic when schools, the beginning, as people are going to school, as people are coming home from school. So any extension of Hill Street, I think would cause some detriment to safety. I am concerned about the water. I am a new resident. I haven't lived here my whole life. I also am not sure that the people that you sold the lot to, without the transparency that we're seeing for this, hopefully they won't put in a private road there because it would be a safety issue. And I am concerned about, as long as I've got another minute, the water. Any kind of huge building on that lot is going to impact the flow of water there and the neighbors. And as someone who had water in their basement this winter, I need the city to keep in mind that, and that in the future you are transparent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving forward, presentations. We have a presentation from the CDBG Housing Assistance Program. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Carrie Justman, and I administer the CDBG program for the city of Rhinelander. And I just wanted to give a brief description of the program and an update on some of the things that can be used for the program. So the way that the program works is, in the past, the city was granted funding from the state of Wisconsin. The city then loaned that money out to its residents. So there are loans out there, and once those loans are paid back, then we have money to help another resident within the city. So it's a 0% interest deferred payment loan. So you have to income qualify. Those levels are increased typically every year, and they are available on a flyer that was given to Teresa. And it's also in the application as well. And then there also needs to be some equity with the property. So if you have questions on what you have available for equity, please give me a call and I can walk you through the formula and what is available and if you have enough to proceed. And then we come and we do an inspection of the property. So anything that fails that inspection is what is eligible to be done through the program. And that can be things like your roof, siding, windows, electrical upgrades, plumbing, heating, anything that fails. So it's all different based on each house, but those are some general things that can be done through the housing program. We can also do sewer laterals from the house to the curb, and just a lot of different things that can be done depending on the condition of the home. And because we are looking at lead-based paint, it's a federally funded program, we are looking at lead-based paint issues. If there are lead paint hazards, so say I go to your house, I test the paint on the siding, it's a lead hazard, that cost of the siding is granted to you and does not have to be paid back to the program. So that is, it's free of cost to you and paid by the program. I think those are my main for the program, but the other thing is we are also looking for contractors. So we are always looking for qualified contractors that have their license for plumbing, electrical, heating, things like that, and if they have insurance. So those are the main qualifications. If there's lead-based paint, they do also have to have their lead safe renovator course as well. So that's a really, really brief description of the program. Is there any questions or anything else you were looking for information on?
Any questions from council? No, they covered a lot quick. Thank you.
It was very quick.
Yeah. Once again, the application has the different listings on it, and it also has a lot of that information which you can get from Teresa, correct?
Yes, and the application at the very last 2 pages of that application gives a much more detailed description of what I just said. So if someone's interested in the program or how it works, there is a step-by-step of how the program works at the end of the application.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moving forward. Mayor's comments. In your with your packets and your thing was the UW Sustainability Capstone Projects. We had 2 capstone projects done by graduate level classes. The packet here is just one of the two capstone projects. The other one is by video when it comes to our landfill covering possibilities with solar panels. But I wanted you to be able to have this in our comprehensive plan right now that was in 2016. We only have sustainability listed once in that whole plan. That being the case when it comes to cost savings for our taxpayers and being good stewards of our land, these were interesting projects and the students did a really great job. the people that partook in the videos, those were fun, but this gives you some of those things outlined and how we utilize our energy as a city. In some ways we can save them. So basically this is just for your consumption, and then also if you want to bring forth policies that have to do with us becoming more sustainable, this is a good basis to start with. Any questions on that? Go ahead and take it home. It's fun reading. Next, proclamation for Physical Education Sports Week. This was done already via Zoom at the James William Middle School. It's on page 4 in your packet. That's for you to read. And then a proclamation for third grade Graders' Day of Achievement is page 5, and I'm going to read that out loud. Whereas all third graders within the Rhinelander School District, and whereas these children have worked hard to aid in providing better water supply systems to those who are less fortunate as we, and whereas the hard work and dedication have collected over $6,600 towards providing a well and water filters to a village in Africa. And whereas now I, therefore, Chris Frederickson, Mayor of the City of Rhinelander, by the power vested in me, do hereby proclaim Friday, May 14th, 2021 to be Third Grader Day of Achievement. Thank you. They did that with what's called a penny drive, which actually has some strategy to it too. So it's fun watching them become little consumers and practitioners of strategy. So it was kind of neat. Meeting minutes, approval of the meeting minutes from April 26, 2021. Page 6 in your packet.
Barnett,
Daniel?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
Daniel, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Monthly reports from departments. They're in your packets, but I'm going to draw attention to a couple different things just to see if we want to speak about it. Otherwise, once again, these are important communications from the department heads to you. Look for those things that they're trying to communicate. The administrator's report had a letter to be approved, and you can speak about it real quick.
Yeah, that was a copy of the letter we sent to the Joint Finance Committee as they prepare and deliberate the budget, which it's actually been in the last week. They've started to roll up their sleeves and deal with the state budget issues. So those were the priorities we advanced to the communication to the committee members.
One of the promises I've made the constituents of the city is we're not just going to look at the pie that we have, but we're going to look to grow that pie. And this is one of the ways we grow that pie is by reaching out to our representatives and asking for our chunk back in better and easier ways so that we can use that. Also under D, engineering and special projects, I'll turn your page to, I think it's 16 if I can read my own handwriting, but it has to do with the MSA position on our housing needs. And once again, I'll have Zach speak where that's sitting.
Yeah, that, if you recall, we submitted an application quite some time ago, and it's been making its way through the Department of Administration. Last week, we got word that we should be expecting a contract as soon as this coming week. And so as soon as we get the contract signed, then we can formally begin the work on the housing needs assessment. So again, we'll call out to community members, interested individuals who may want to serve on some form of a task force or citizens advisory group on this topic, because we will want a good swath of community and public engagement on the issue of housing needs.
It's exciting to be able to take on some of the things that we know we need as a city and be able to start attacking them. With that, I'll accept a motion. Gerald?
I had another question too, but
Absolutely.
I move we approve the department reports. I just wanted to thank the clerk for giving us the information about the April 6th election, and would particularly with all the discussion around the country about absentee ballots, to note that 48% of the people in Rhinelander voted by absentee ballot, either in person or by mail. Seems significant to me. And I do move that we approve these reports.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Barnett, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Reports from boards, commissions, and committees. The report of April 9th, 2021 Police and Fire Commission. This is on page 41. We'll take these two separately.
Holt, I'll make a motion to accept the report from the Police and Fire Commission as presented.
Second.
Excuse me, from April 9th, yes.
Second, Rossing.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Report of the May 4th, 2021 Planning Commission is page 46 in your packet. Gerald?
I move that we accept the planning commission minutes from Tuesday, May 4th.
Holt, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Once again, I want to really thank our staff, and I know I'm taking a pause in here before we get to the next part. By having these things available 5 days in, it gives a whole lot of time to review the information. As you can see, if we were to go through it, I brought the packets of the different parts of the materials here today just so they can understand the work product that has been put forth in this, and I do appreciate the work that our departments are doing now. Moving on, public hearings. So this is a second reading. Ordinance number 2021-03 to adopt the amendments of the City of the Comprehensive Plan as recommended by the Plan Commission. This is page 49 in your packet. I'll accept the motion. Gerald?
Since I haven't even had a chance to locate the comprehensive plan, I'd like to move that this be tabled at least until the next meeting to give us time to see what it is we're approving.
You're talking about the 2016 comprehensive plan? Because that's what we're...
The amendments. I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I guess my question is, do you have any concern or issues with the amendments that have been presented thus far through either the Planning Commission's review or what was presented at the last council meeting? I'm just wanting to understand what would prevent the adoption of the comp plan, like what other information by postponing it would...
It says, as included in Exhibit A, which is on the next page. And then at the bottom of Exhibit A, it says repeal the following, Policy F and Policy M, which I don't know what those are.
Those are of the zoning ordinance. So the zoning, the ordinances in our municipal code pertaining to signage, landscaping, site design, development, zoning and subdivision regulations, those are referenced in our ordinances.
This is not the zoning code, this is the comprehensive plan.
I understand, but the land use in the comp plan and that of the zoning code should be aligned. Now, one would say that the comp plan was adopted after the zoning code, so it's likely that there would be more specificity in the zoning code versus the comp plan.
That makes sense?
As far as it goes, but I still like to know what we're really voting on. And until I've seen what's in Policy F and what's in Policy M, I don't think I'm ready to vote on it.
So I know I emailed the comp plan previously to the council, and if you go to Google and search Rhinelander Comprehensive Plan, it's the first item that's there. So I'm not sure what to say about the inability to...
Where did you find it?
Just go into Google and searching Rhinelander Comprehensive Plan.
So I didn't try that, but I couldn't find it in the city website because it just gave me a page that says 404 error.
If I click underneath the administrators, rhinelander.cityhall.org/administrator, you'll see the comprehensive plan listed.
Under
there as well.
administrator, okay. Well, I looked under inspections and under planning.
The comprehensive plan is actually the duty of the administrator to update and write. It's not the duty of planning commission or anything else. It has to do with the direction of our city and how we will enact and implement that plan. So if we're doing zoning and code changes, basically it's then up to the comprehensive plan to adapt to those code and zoning changes to be able to match up. And that's part of the administrator's job, is make sure that those two things line up. So that's what this is doing, is lining them up based on the work product that's been put together in the last 2 years by MD Rolfers and the Planning Commission. Does that make sense?
I didn't understand that that's how it was located there, but on the website it is listed under inspections or planning, I don't remember which, but it doesn't give you anything. But the clerk has gotten me a copy, but I haven't had a chance to look at it.
It's really much simpler than that. It really, all it's doing is it takes the previous language about signage, landscaping, site design, removes it, and inserts the new language that we're voting on next in those spaces. That's what it does. Because if you look at the comprehensive plan, it references the existing code, and because the comprehensive plan references the existing code, when you amend the existing code, you also have to amend the comprehensive plan so it goes back and refers to the code sections that we're going to be voting on tonight. That's all it does.
Just so you know, we have a motion on the floor to table this, but at the same time, we want to give you clarity of what we're doing, so that you can actually either scratch that motion.
Point of information.
Yeah.
He made a motion, it was not seconded.
That was not seconded.
And it's
Okay.
been more than 3 seconds.
Gotcha. So
So
there has not been a second
I
on your
would
motion.
like to make a motion to adopt the amendments as presented, recommended by the Plan Commission.
Go ahead and turn your mic on just so that it gets recorded. Thank you, Tom.
I will second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Now we can discuss it if we have any further discussion.
Well,
Really, so the council, I mean, this is an important issue, and so, and I know, and I guess I'm the parliamentarian, I should have called it out of order, but I think it's important that everybody knows that what we're doing, I mean, there's been a question about transparency, that what we're doing is simply taking the comprehensive plan and bringing it in conformity with the ordinance changes. Now, we may be putting the cart before the horse a little bit, because if we don't approve the upcoming ordinances, then effectively what this says is it's going to stay the same as it is right now. Do you understand what I hope you understand?
Right.
So everything that everybody's voting on is right here in the documents that we have tonight. It's just where do they find their home after we're all done? Because the comprehensive plan is got to be modified once if we do, or if you do, not me, if you do change the ordinance, the zoning ordinance, the comprehensive plan has to be changed so the new ordinance characteristics of upgrade in signage, landscaping, site design, and related development standards are in conformity with the new ordinance. And that's all this is saying, is making sure the comprehensive plan is in conformity with the amendments that you may or may not vote on tonight, or you may or not approve.
Gerald.
I think that should make sense to everybody.
yeah, a few minutes ago you said we are replacing what was there with references to the new code, but it doesn't say anything about replacing. It just says repeal those old ones, and those F and M letters drop out of the sequence. It doesn't say anything about adding new references.
It's re-lettering them. It's giving them different, it's going to fit right into the plan.
Okay, am I wrong? To me, re-letter the others means we drop out F, we make G the new F, H the new G, and so forth like that. Isn't that what the re-lettering would mean?
Yeah, because we consolidated certain sections of the previous zoning ordinance down into smaller sections than we had before. So, yeah, effectively, you do change the lettering. That's a correct statement. But the bottom line is, all you're doing is bringing the comprehensive plan in compliance. This was discussed at the Planning Commission. I know that. I just want everyone to know we're not trying to do something behind someone's back. This is it's all here before us right now. And it's available on the website. Anyone can read it.
Yeah.
Okay, I still don't see that it is all here before us.
Well, you can vote no, and we can bring it back later on. That's certainly your right.
All those in favor?
Mayor, can I request
yes.
a roll call vote?
Yeah. Roll call.
Thomas Barnett,
Aye.
Andrew Larson, Carrie Mikulowski,
Aye.
Thomas Kelly,
Aye.
Gerald Anderson,
Nay.
David Holt,
Aye.
Eileen Daniel,
Aye.
Ryan Rossing.
Aye.
Ayes have it, the motion carries. Ordinance number 2021-04 to repeal and recreate Title V, Chapter 5.07 zoning, including the official zoning map as recommended by the Planning Commission on April 6, 2021.
Point of order. Are each of these supposed to be a public hearing tonight also?
Public.
Public hearing was at the last meeting. The public hearing was at the last meeting. We had a public hearing notice at the last meeting. So this is the second reading. This is the time we'd vote on it. We also officially notified the Plan Commission as a public hearing. And so we've really probably overkilled this one with public hearings. But we certainly
I'll accept the motion.
We certainly would entertain any public comment.
David?
I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-4 to repeal and recreate Title V, Chapter 5.07 zoning, including the official zoning map as recommended by the Planning Commission or Plan Commission on April 6th, 2021.
Thank you.
Barnett, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Gerald?
Okay. I spent several days this past week going through this new zoning code, came up with 4 pages of comments, questions, and corrections, and that was only about half of it that I made it through. This is a major document. This constitutes more pages than our whole rest of our city code combined. And it's something that we're going to be using for many, many years. I really think we need more time, and so I moved to table this one to the next meeting.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow some discussion on this because you asked for the discussion. What's that? Tom, didn't you second the? Yeah. So there's a motion and a second. The discussion with that, make a note that Andrew Larson is now here. Hello. Yes.
Motion to table is not subject to discussion.
There was no second to his motion.
Yeah, Tom.
Well, no,
No.
Tom seconded my motion to approve the ordinance change.
I heard somebody said, Gerald asked if there was a second, Eileen did, and then you pointed to Tom.
asking for the first motion.
Okay, so let's get the record straight here. There was a motion to approve the change. That was seconded. There was a motion to table. That is on the floor. That's on the floor right now. It has not been seconded. Therefore, it is no longer on the floor. So the only thing on the floor now is the motion to approve, which is subject to discussion.
David?
I would like to ask the city administrator a question, please.
Yes.
Zach, how many emails have you gotten from council members in the last 2 weeks asking for clarification on this plan?
I received 2 emails from Gerald,
Okay.
specific to one last week and one today on the changes. Yep.
Okay.
And I don't believe anyone else.
The reason I asked that question is because I've heard the mayor over the course of the last 2 or 3 years say many times, I've lost count, if you have any questions about this, it's our due diligence as council members to review documents and come to the meeting prepared to address whatever is lacking in that previous correspondence, so that we're not trying to discuss things from the starting point ad nauseum at meetings with a full gallery of people that have other agenda items that they are here waiting to see adjudicated.
I'm going to respond real quick with the fact that we started this project 2 years ago, so it's been 2 years in the making of rezoning and coding our city, which has not happened since 1966.
Yeah.
Once again, last time I told you, if you were still here in 20 years and you don't look at it in that time, just like the comprehensive plan that's been here since 2016, if you haven't looked at it at this point, there's something wrong with that. So this work product that comes out, is there going to be grammatical errors in it? Yes. Is there going to be questions of whatever? I believe we did send a response to you, Gerald. Is that correct? On at least your first email. I know the second one came out today. I don't know if that got answered yet, but the first email had a list of correspondence back. So the work product of it is moving forward. I believe at this point it calls for us to pass and then amend the things that are wrong. It's a living document. It represents our city as we move forward and how we move forward. We haven't done anything with it since, well, we've done stuff with it since 1966, but we haven't looked at it, taken it in its totality and fixed it for the benefit of our people in that amount of time. So I believe that we should move forward with this and then amend the things that are wrong. I don't believe that this page, I think there's 78 pages at least in it, and you said it was the largest document we have as a city, is without error. There's absolutely no way in shape or form do I think that is without error. But at the same time, it's our purview to fix those errors as we find them. Tom?
Yeah, I would agree. I've been following along with the Planning Commission, reading the stuff on the website about this, and I would agree that, grammatical errors aside, obviously as those come up, those get corrected and all that. But it's not, we're not taking a chisel to a block of stone and writing it in there. Anything that we put in here is, like you said, amendable. So if something isn't working, we can amend it quite easily with a simple vote. To stall and him and haw about it, like you said, for something that's been waiting to be done for a very long time, would just be a tragedy, because we're here to make change. We're here to move the city forward. We need to start progressively moving things ahead. Do we have to do that cautiously? Of course we do. But we also can't go to the point where we're so cautious that nothing moves forward.
Yeah. Gerald?
Well, I guess I've been told that I need to go to all the planning commission meetings as well as these, but this new version of the zoning code officially came to this body 2 weeks ago for the first reading, and it's back this time for the second reading. I don't think it's excessive to take another 2 weeks to try to get it closer to right. I also have a feeling that this, in spite of the fact that we say, well, we can always amend it, that this body does not have a lot of patience with what you consider picky little amendments, which is another reason to try to get things right the first time before we pass it.
I'm going to actually disagree with you politely. I appreciate that it came to you, and you're correct. In your official capacity, it came to you in the last 2 weeks, or that point. I'm going to say that as far as amending things and having pride and holding on to the things that we pass and not being willing to change it is completely inaccurate. I believe we as a body, quite as seen today, we listen to the people. We will change or amend things. We listen. We do not believe we're without error. We do not sit there on pride and say we're holding to something because of this a certain way. But we also see the necessity to move forward as government. We see the necessity that our city is, whether it be infrastructure or other things, might be behind, and we need to move forward. So I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on that point. I do believe we're willing to amend things. David.
Could you please call a question?
Yeah. Please call roll.
Carrie Mikulowski.
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
Eileen Daniel.
Aye.
Ryan Rossing.
Aye.
Gerald Anderson.
Nay.
Thomas Barnett.
Aye.
Andrew Larson.
Aye.
Thomas Kelly.
Aye. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Ordinance number 2021-05, to amend the other sections of the municipal code to ensure consistency with the replacement of chapter 5.07 zoning as recommended by the Plan Commission on April 6, 2021.
Barnett,
David.
I will make a motion to accept ordinance number 2021-5 to amend other sections of the municipal code to ensure consistency with the replacement chapter 5.07 quote-unquote zoning as recommended by the Plan Commission on April 6, 2021.
Daniel, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Gerald?
I came prepared to make some amendments to this motion, and I passed out a sheet that has those amendments on it. Now, I was told just before the meeting that because I had submitted them before, that those were now being incorporated into this amendment, just the way the things that we talked about last meeting were incorporated from that time to this meeting. I'm sure you noticed that, the thing about changing from 30 days to 14 days on abandoned vehicles and stuff, that just comes out, as done already. So I guess my question is, do I need to move these amendments, or are they included?
Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I told you, Gerald, and what I would tell the rest of the group is that, and I don't know if this parallels what you and I worked on this afternoon, Zach, but we took the comments that Gerald made, and if you would all kind of follow, I'll go through those. And I don't have your sheet. You didn't give me a copy, so I
It's
don't.
the same as what I sent with my email.
But I would suggest to everyone that the changes that are in the document that you have when we reviewed these, the city administrator and myself both felt these were appropriate changes, and we would recommend that the ordinance as it is in front of you right now be amended to include these changes. I think that's a correct statement, correct?
That's correct, yeah. It mostly pertain to the use of non-operable versus inoperative, as well as striking some exceptions that I would also agree that are probably a bit more exclusive than what they should be in this sort of instance. So I would concur with the attorney on this.
Yeah, and for the understanding is we also, there's an exemption for military personnel, and we kept that in, but we put it into clearer language. And the other exception that is in there that wasn't in there before was to recognize that there's a state statute that deals with stolen vehicles that don't really need to be in there. So that's what they are. So if you're making a motion to amend to what's on the floor to incorporate these, that would be appropriate.
I would like to move to amend ordinance 2021-05 as in the from the form that it came to us tonight, as follows, which you have spelled out on the page. If you want me to read it, I will.
No,
No,
I'll take that
I just
motion.
went through the changes.
Yeah.
Would that be a friendly amendment?
Yes.
That would need to be seconded.
I'll second it.
matter
sir.
whether
Rossing
it's
second.
Rossing seconds.
friendly or not.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. The friendly, the amendment passes.
Robert's rule says there is no such thing.
As a
Yeah,
friendly?
We understand there's, but the amendment was amended and now, so you're voting now
Now.
on the motion as amended.
Yes.
Yes.
Once again, I'm going to ask you to call roll.
Andrew Larson,
Aye.
Thomas Kelly,
Aye.
Eileen Daniel,
Aye.
Thomas Barnett,
Aye.
Gerald Anderson,
Aye.
Carrie Mikulowski,
Aye.
Ryan Rossing,
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
I'd like to thank the council for working together, and I do appreciate Gerald's due diligence on each and every one of these points. It's something that we need in totality as we move forward consistently, every meeting, every way, so we get to a better work product, and I do appreciate that. Thank you. Introduction to new business. Discussion and improvement of Resolution 2021-6, vacating of Hill Street public hearing. It's page 58 in your packet.
Can I speak to this, Mr. Mayor? Because of some comments that were made this evening, I thought that it would be appropriate that if I would speak to what this is. There was a street that was platted called Hill Street. It's not a real street. There's no street there. It's a platted street on a plat of a survey that was made many years ago. And the project that we're looking at for that, which we've already approved the developers agreement, would indicate that there will be, that answers the question, will the developers put a street in? The answer is no. There's no street going in there. In fact, there will be buildings or structures on what was to be Hill Street. The secondary issue that was raised this evening in comment was, what about water and drainage? The answer is there has to be a drainage plan as part of the developer's plan, and the drainage plan has to show that no more water will leave that property at a greater volume or velocity than is currently leaving that property. So in other words, nothing that the developer does on that property can increase the volume or the velocity of water coming off that. This is one of the things that in this project we had to work with very carefully because it is a low area and it's going to have to be engineered to retain a lot of the water, or we're going to have to look at some type of a different sanitary storm sewer to remove the water from it. And the developer knows that. It's part of the development plan. So both of the issues raised tonight about water and about will there be a street there, I can assure you that those two, one, there won't be a street there, and number two, the water issue will be addressed.
Rossing, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-6, vacation of Hill Street.
Daniel, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Gerald?
I don't like to get too involved with whereas clauses, but it seems like on this, the whereas ought to be, whereas there never was a street built there and we don't need it. And what's there doesn't really say that, but okay, it says we are taking initial steps to vacate. What does initial steps mean?
The first step is that you must pass this resolution. After this resolution is passed, then you have to take another step under the state statute, and the next step would be to actually vacate and change the map, and then you would approve the map without the street on it. There's a very long statutory procedure, and in fact, the language that's contained in this resolution comes right out of Wisconsin statutes. This is not something that I made up. I've done this many, many, many times. So this is the process, the procedure. It's a long procedure. It takes 60 to 90 days to complete it. And you're right, there was never a street there, but that doesn't stop the problem of trying to get rid of it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Discuss the run water notification. This was an add-on in your mailboxes.
Yeah, there was a question raised about the city's procedures, notification, et cetera, regarding the winter run water situation when folks that have shallow water laterals have to run water. So we identified the steps, shared that with all of you. From a policy standpoint, if there's anything that warrants further consideration or rework, we'd be happy to take that feedback. But really, at this point, this is just a notification to make you aware of, or communication to make you aware of what the notification steps are involved here.
Any questions? Moving on. Discuss and approve the mayoral appointments to the boards, committees, and commissions. The Airport Commission, Brad Kavieski, and the joint, we'll take them separately.
I will make a motion to approve the mayoral appointment of Brad Kowalski to the Airport Commission.
Larson, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. The Joint Library District Board, Kira Loomis.
I will make a motion to approve the mayoral appointment of Kira Loomis to the Joint Library District Board.
Anderson, second.
Anderson.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? On this point, I would like, Tom?
No, I'm.
Oh, okay. I'd like boards and commissions to understand and be flexible maybe with their meeting times. We had two previous people also that were very interested in doing this, but the meeting times just don't make it for them. And I'm not telling them they have to, change their meeting times, but I'm being somewhat understanding of that. There are plenty of people in our community that want to reach out and be a part of these things, but can't. So some consideration there would be great. But anyway, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Discuss and approve bills and claims in the amount of $2,787,705.39. It's page 59, the brief description.
Barnett, I will make a motion to approve bills and claims in the amount of $2,787,705.39.
What's that?
Holt, I'll second what he said.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did you type that, Teresa?
Did we have those to sign this?
Yeah, I didn't see them passed
did not
around
see
yet.
them
They have
passed
not
around.
passed my desk
Yeah, I
yet.
haven't gotten it yet.
Okay. Please call roll. This is
Eileen Daniel.
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
Thomas Kelly.
Aye.
Ryan Rossing.
Aye.
Thomas Barnett.
Aye.
Gerald Anderson.
Aye.
Andrew Larson.
Aye.
Carrie Mikulowski.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We'll pay the bills. Discuss and approve the sewer televising service agreement and quotes, page 60. Tom, I'll have you, is that yours to stand up just in case we have any questions? Save some time and have you there. I'll accept a motion. Okay.
Two separate packages here. Maybe you want to explain the differences between the two before we get a motion on the floor.
It's pretty standard. It's budgeted for in a roundabout way under our sewer maintenance program. One of them is televising and cleaning. We don't have anyone that runs the vac truck as of right now. We're down 2 employees. So I'd recommend going with the televising and cleaning. And not to mention, they clean right ahead of themselves. And if we clean it, there's any standstill, it's like $280 an hour extra charge. So them cleaning and televising would be my recommendation on that.
So Mayor, do we need to decide which quote we are going to approve?
Correct.
Daniel, make a motion to approve quote 747, which would include both televising and cleaning.
There's a motion.
Anderson, second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Tom?
Can you describe what televising is for me? Because all I see is like the sewer on TV.
All right. Well, they'll go through, clean the sewer. If they run into any root problems or anything, they'll cut the roots out. Then they send a camera down and look for imperfections in the sanitary.
Okay. All
And
right, thank you.
they can identify footages, and we're actually looking at, like my 6-month plan was getting televising equipment to do ourselves.
Okay, that makes more sense than what I thought. So.
All right. If you want to get the preview to that, it's called a colonoscopy. Yes. So we have a motion and a second, and it's to spend money, so I'm going to ask Teresa to call roll, even though it's budgeted.
Thomas Kelly.
Aye.
Ryan Rossing.
Aye.
Eileen Daniel.
Aye.
Carrie Mikulowski.
Aye.
Gerald Anderson.
Aye.
Thomas Barnett.
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
Andrew Larson.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, discuss and approve pickleball windscreens project completion. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for showing up because it does show democracy and listening and a part of the government that's very important. But I'll open it up to go ahead, Eileen.
My first question, I was not part of the council that approved the initial pickleball agreement. So I'm wondering, is there a formal agreement that is on file with the city that was signed by both parties?
I'll have our attorney speak to that.
The only thing that's on file was there was a memorandum that was drafted. The memorandum indicated that the group was allowed to raise funds to build the pickleball court in accordance to plans and specifications that were presented to the city. Those plans and specifications were presented to the city. I saw them. I think Jeremy saw them. I don't remember if Daniel saw them or not. I don't think you ever saw them, Chris. And that memorandum indicated that once the courts were done, they were the property of the city, and that the city would have total control over the courts.
I have a follow-up question.
Yep.
Actually, it's more of a comment than a question. If there's an agreement that we're going to let them fundraise to build a pickleball court according to the plans that they submitted, and those plans included the windscreens, this is a non-discussion.
The windscreens were not included in the plans. I can assure you of that, because I would have noticed that before. The plans that I still have no
Okay.
windscreen on them.
So they had no windscreen.
That's correct.
The other thing I will say is I did talk to our, is Carrie here? Carrie?
Mm-mm.
Bladorn?
Me?
Carrie Bladorn.
No, he is not.
Sorry. I did speak to Carrie, and I asked him his thoughts on it as the curator of our logging museum. He suggested a compromise. Basically, if they put up the windscreens, he would like some sort of signage on the front of, or on the side of the pickleball courts that's most visible to Oneida Avenue that advertises the logging museum so you can see it from the street. That's what he would like, some sort of indicator that's a little more prevalent than what's there now.
The problem we have with that was we moved from even just a windscreen now to signage and ordinance.
Well, or any place, any place on that
I understand what you're saying, and what you're asking for or requesting is what's acceptable as far as in a bargaining issue. So that's somewhat out of our purview even at this point with a park, because advertising in a park and that issue, we're working even on donor sign recognition on some of those issues, because as we move forward with our park plans, those are some of the issues that we have to deal with.
Okay.
They have not been dealt with before in the past, and as we say, we're changing ordinances and we're looking at them and we're moving forward with these things.
Okay.
So is it an imperfect world? Yeah, it's an imperfect world, and this landed on a time that we moved from planning to actually working together with groups to get things done. And it was a very, very, very successful project in getting pickleball courts put out there in our park. But David?
Thank you. I understand that. I understand that the discussing signage might be, or discussing possible compromises might be a little bit further than this discussion. I would like to say I agree with Eileen's premise, and what I would have said, what I was prepared to say before she broached the subject was, it sounds like we have a different issue with visibility of the logging museum. I've lived here for nearly a decade now, and my personal opinion is that the visibility of the logging museum has always been an issue when I drive by. And yes, windscreens might exacerbate that, but one thing that I think is important to think about here is if windscreens are necessary to make those courts as effective in their own right as possible. You know, I like the idea of doing things well and doing things correctly. Yes, I think that visibility of the train and the logging museum is very important, but I actually think those are a bit more mutually exclusive than they're being presented right now. That how do we make the logging museum more visible is a separate question in some ways.
Yeah, when you ask that question, and this just goes back to historical reference, we had a parks plan that moved a bunch of those buildings even more to the forefront, and the pickleball courts were more to the central back. That being the case for the feasibility of it. And one of the things we paid GSD for was even traffic flow and some of the other conceptions that people that want a particular thing might not look at, but he's paid to look at. He's a paid advisor to say, listen, this will take traffic flow. It'll give visible views. It'll give, different people different reasons for doing it. And that's part of the reason that we went to plans, was to avoid prioritizing things just based on right now haphazardly, but actually having a plan that we can move forward as a city and say, this is what our deliverables are to our public. Go ahead.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I completely understand that. However, those pickleball courts are now there.
Oh, absolutely.
They are beautiful, and I agree that they are being well utilized, and they're not going to be moved. So whatever intentions led to the movement of those from further back towards the sawmill to up in a more prominent position where the tennis courts used to be, that ship has sailed, and we need to deal with whatever challenges we're facing right now. I mean, we're not going to undo the fact that they're there.
Can I make I'm just going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion to approve oh, Carrie had a question first. Go, Carrie.
Carrie?
It's not really a question, it's just a comment, but I feel like if these were the only pickleball courts in the entire city of Rhinelander, it would be a bigger issue. But the fact that they can play in both the Dome and the YMCA, I don't feel that the hindrance of the visibility to the rest of the park outweighs, a club playing pickleball at the park. So, I mean, I think if it's too windy, then by all means, go play your tournament in the Dome. Not that we don't want people to come to our city, we do, but we also want our, visitors to see our beautiful park that we're trying to establish.
Tom?
That's all.
So whenever we have something like this come forward, we're usually presented with some sort of material or I don't know what the word is, proposal, or they bring in, the pictures and all that. So what I'm wondering is, would it be out of the question to postpone the vote for another couple of weeks until our next one, and in that time having these folks that run the pickleball court come up with a presentation, which is the word I was looking for, showing us the material? Because I don't play pickleball, I don't play tennis, I fish, that's what I do, and there's no mesh fencing around my boat. So I honestly don't know what this meshing looks like. I don't know if you can see through it. I don't know if you can't see through it. I don't even know if it's polka dot or striped. So I personally would love to see some sort of presentation that shows other pickleball courts with this meshing around it, that shows that it's not a complete solid wall that nobody can see through and they can actually see the people playing. I will be honest with everybody that I've gotten a lot of calls and emails of constituents, not even from my own district, but from people outside my district, saying that they don't want to see the wind screen on the pickleball court. I got people saying they do. So it's almost an even flow of the responses that I've gotten. So it could literally go either way.
Gerald, and then you.
Okay.
So my recommendation and request is that we table this to give them time to come up with a presentation so that we can make an educated decision on this. Because if I make a decision tonight, I'm not making an educated one because I don't know what this stuff looks like. I don't know. So I'd rather make an educated discussion.
Gerald?
I'm always in favor of making educated decisions, but I do think we have something of a problem with our planner, who's very good at looking at things from a vertical viewpoint, but doesn't give as much thought to the horizontal view of things. And I think I have some concerns about the Hode plan in that regard also. I enjoy seeing all those people out there playing pickleball.
Absolutely.
And I go by there fairly often. I have played enough tennis myself to know that part of the game is learning to manage the wind, to deal with the wind. It's probably worse with a light ball like they use, but I would look for a compromise too. And I guess my thought of a compromise is there some kind of screen that could be rolled down when it's windy and they're playing and left up the rest of the time, or some kind of deal like that. So I'm with Tom as far as feeling a need for more information on what's available and what it might look like.
Sure. Eileen?
I'm wondering, Mayor, may I address a representative from the pickleball group? I have a question for the group.
Absolutely.
Jane, if you would be willing
I'll
to
have
answer
you
this
stand up at the mic
for me.
too.
And I'm sorry to the rest of you, I just know Jane's name.
Hit the button.
I have all my consultants.
Ah, okay. I noticed there was considerable laughter when someone suggested using the Hodag Dome's pickleball courts for tournaments. I'm wondering why that is.
why there was laughter?
Yes.
Well, it's really hard to plan something based on the weather and then based on the dome's reservations or their other obligations to the community too. So it's tough enough to put a major tournament together without having to say, well, it might be here, it might be there, you know. Is that what you're asking?
No, what I'm asking is, why wouldn't you plan your tournament
In
at
the
the
dome?
at the dome?
Oh.
Schedule it for a specific time. That's where you tell
Right.
your players it's going to be. That way you don't even have to worry about the weather. If it's hot outside, it's cool in the dome. If it's cold outside, it's warm in the
Right.
dome, and you can do it year round. Somebody's raising their hand. I don't know. Maybe she has a better. Okay.
I'm going to have you stand up by the mic because, one, our meetings are transparent, so they go out on Zoom, so it helps everybody else listen to that.
Nancy Federley, 247 Johnson Street. Speaking of that, we are right now with dealing with the YMCA, and we are planning a tournament with them,
Okay.
together, for August 14th or the 21st. And right now, the dome is already being used by the high school. So using that, they are just as busy as we are.
Okay.
And when we invite something into a tournament, we've done these gorgeous courts. We would really like to do an outside court. If any of us play, we would prefer outdoors. The
Okay.
entire summer, we will be playing there. And I just have two other comments.
Okay.
Had we built the courts where it was first initiated, back where the music part was, we would have had to take 10 trees down. And we love the trees at Pioneer Park as we do it at Hodag. So that was one of our decisions, is hopefully we just kept them where that tennis court was. The second thing is, right now, the plan is that the softball area and the bleachers are going to be removed eventually, because the high school kids are going to be playing at the high school, all that stuff. So that opens up that entire area. My grandchild lives in Germany, and when she comes, we go to that park every year to see the museum, the train. She loves all of that stuff. We go to that park, and you don't really see anything from the outside. Right now, that park is alive. Hodag Park is alive, and I think that's what is drawing people. And I think the windscreens will finish that park and make it look even better and draw people into the park. All the kids on the playgrounds, all the people coming in to the museum. I mean, it's active, and I really think that's what we want in Rhinelander. And this will complete it to the best of our ability. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
A comment from
Sure.
Kerry Bladorn, who
Oh, sure.
texted because he had to dip out. I need to code into your phone. Do you want to announce that to the group?
Do you want to put that on? Make sure you say that into the microphones.
Yes, Maureen Amelia, 1004 Oneida. Kerry Bladorn is watching this via.
Okay, great.
And he just sent me a message.
Oh, fantastic.
He says, I'm watching the city council meeting and I wasn't even aware that the windscreen was on the agenda. That said, I was open and honest with you in our conversations about my support of the windscreen and was excited to hear it could be potentially used as a sign as well. I sent emails directly after our long talk on the phone to the mayor and the administrator expressing my support of the windscreen and hoping that it could be used as a sign. I have not talked to any other members of the community about it at all. I am surprised there have been people speaking tonight that are not in favor of it, and I had no input or knowledge as to their thoughts or desire to speak tonight. They are doing so of their own volition. I had to dip out, so I wasn't sure if it was voted on, but I hope it passes for you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have
More
go
questions,
ahead.
Eileen? Do you want me to stick?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, thanks.
I will say that in our technological age, if someone is looking for things to do in Rhinelander, they're coming through Rhinelander, they're coming to Rhinelander in a tourist capacity, most young families are going to put together their agenda based on things like the Chamber of Commerce's page on things to do in Rhinelander, and I know the park is definitely one of those things that's in there. And they'll find it. I'm kind of mixed on this whole issue, but I honestly don't think the windscreens are going to be a huge factor in the numbers of people we see at the Logging Museum this year.
Never mind.
No, you're next, but Ryan did have his hand up before. All right.
Good evening. Thanks, Ryan Ross. And I just wanted to thank each and every one of you guys for coming here tonight and for what you guys have done for Rhinelander and at Pioneer Park. I think it's important that passionate people get together and make things happen, and that's what you guys did. You came up with $100,000 to make something that benefited one of our parks in our community, so thank you for doing that. I just wanted to address a couple of comments that kind of caught me off guard tonight, and that was by a couple of gentlemen. I'm not going to call out any names because I can't remember them, but one of the things was they said, we want the city to do what they committed to doing. I wasn't really sure of the exact plans and the windscreen and stuff that was exactly going to happen. And then the other was a comment of keeping your word. So that caught me off guard. And I don't want anybody to think that there's animosity between our group as the city council and your group, because we really do appreciate everything that you guys have done. I'm torn as well, like Eileen said. I want you guys to have everything that you want to have to make that as successful for yourselves and for other people and the community as possible. So I'm glad to hear that Carrie is in favor of it, and I would like to see a little bit more of the technology and what's available for fencing and what goes on there with the windscreens, maybe to see what it looks like. I don't know if there's any sort of options for, hold on one second. I see what you're holding up the what it looks like.
I think this is more appropriate for a presentation, but this isn't like on
Right.
the agenda tonight.
So, you know, there is some things, like I was saying, with Kerry, I'm glad to see that he's in support of it. He's probably about one of the most passionate people in Rhinelander for Pioneer Park. He's done a great deal for that. I'm still disappointed, actually, as far as trying to find the park, that somebody hasn't put a sign out on the bypass yet that's got an arrow that says go down past WJFW to go to the Pioneer Park Logging Museum. So I'm torn. I want everybody who lives near the park to have the visibility that maybe they've had, but I also want you guys to have what you want too, and to be successful. So thank you.
Tom Kelly.
All I wanted to say is I think that there's
No, I know.
there's
After
an
you.
upside to tabling this issue until the 24th, in that gives the pickleball group time to sit down with Carrie Bladorn and work out some sort of compromise, and then bring it back to us with the compromise.
Yeah, I believe that actually the workout should be with Jeremy Biolo,
Yeah.
the Parks Director. But yeah.
What is the proper way of making a different motion?
Motion to table.
Yeah, you can make. There's
There's
no
no
motion yet.
motion on the
There's been no
table.
motion. This is a discussion at this
I actually
point.
did have a question for Tom Barnett, though, because it sounded almost like he did make a motion to table, but I never got a chance
know,
to
he just-
clarify whether he had actually made that motion to
He
table.
discussed
I would
tabling it,
like
but-
to make a motion to table this until the next city council meeting to give the pickleball organization proper time to prepare a proper presentation as to what different materials there are and what can be used, and yeah, so.
Anderson second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I would like to say, one, I really do applaud the pickleballers for putting together a wonderful court. One of the hard parts of representing the constituents is not always going based on what you want, but also looking out for the totality of our city. There's always wants and desires for every part of a park, every part of a street, every part of a community that comes in there that may or may not fit into what the rest of the city does. And that's our job, is to vet that and protect it. But we're vetting it here today in open forum, and I appreciate that moving forward. I love listening to the pickleballers and seeing them across the street. I love walking over there with my coffee and talking to them. I love the fact that that park is being used. It does my heart really good. Still, it's my job as mayor to make sure that that's an amicable decision made by the people of the city, because it's their park. I know the one part of that agreement that was put together is that it was a gift, and once it's gifted, then it's in our reception then to do what we would do with it as a city. That puts the responsibility on us to answer those constituents that may not play pickleball or may not whatever. So that's why we need to go through this as far as vetting it. Not always easy because people are passionate about it, but at the same time, a great part of our democracy is where we do vet this publicly in front of people, where Carrie can not be at the meeting and still chime in. It's a new world we're in where people can put their responses in writing. They can have them voiced and heard, and I appreciate you all taking your time for this too. It's not a done decision, obviously. We're tabling it to the next meeting. Once again, I would tell you be active in pursuing the solutions and then also talking to your alderpersons. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
We have a vote to call.
Oh, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Discuss and approve the service agreement with ProCare Services Life Pack Maintenance, page 62 in your packets. Hey, Tom.
How's it going? So this one's our Life Pack is our cardiac monitors. We have 3 of them on our ambulances. This is a service agreement that gets, this company comes in every year and does the maintenance on it. It includes battery replacement. It's a requirement to have this service done every year because it is medical equipment. It's used for defibrillating, pacemaker, cardioversion. New ones are around, when we bought these new, they were $13,000 a piece. So this maintenance agreement is to make sure that they still work when we go out in the field. And this is an agreement we have every 3 years. We renew this agreement.
I'll accept a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the services agreement with ProCare Services for Life Pack maintenance.
Don't go anywhere, Tom.
Holt, second.
Here's a motion, a second. And Eileen in charge of Tom.
Wow.
I guess.
Well, he started moving that way.
Well, I was just stepping back a step. I'm the next item also, so I wasn't going to go too far.
Yeah.
The company I work for actually sells these items. So my question is, what do they do for this $13,000?
Yep, they break. That's for 3 years. So it's a little over $4,000 a year, and they come in and do their service on it. They do their testing on it, and it's battery replacement as well.
Can you tell me when they come in next time so I can come watch?
Sure.
Okay, because I have a little familiarity with these. I want to make sure we're not getting. I'm not going to say anything else because my company has a relationship with Stryker, but I'd really like to see it.
I'd ask you to abstain on the next vote.
I will.
Too.
I will
Thank
abstain.
You.
Yes.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Carrie Mikulowski.
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
Eileen Daniel.
Abstain.
Ryan Rossing.
Aye.
Gerald Anderson.
Aye.
Thomas Barnett.
Aye.
Andrew Larson.
Aye.
Thomas Kelly.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Discuss and approve the ambulance request for proposal bid specs. This was also an add-on that was in your mailbox. Tom, go ahead. I'll let you.
Yeah, so we have an opportunity with the borrowing issue. Our ambulances, as you all know, Chief Williams has been coming to you for years, telling you we need new ambulances. We're due. We're overdue. When we first started the ambulance service, we had in our plan to replace them every 5 years. We have 3 ambulances that are now over 11 years old. This morning, one of our trucks, they couldn't get access to one of the compartments. The door was locked, and they couldn't figure out how to unlock it to get at the equipment. They were still working on it when I left today. The equipment, doesn't have a lot of miles on it. However, they get used, and they do need to be replaced. We're putting people's lives in the back of these ambulances. We have an opportunity with demo ambulances right now that are available. And so this bid spec is on one. We have a truck committee that's been working on this for a year. They've gotten estimates, quotes from different vendors. This vendor, when we did the initial estimates, just to get a rough idea on what it would cost, was the lowest that we had as well. So we have an opportunity to, there's another vendor, local vendor as well, that may be able to meet these bid specs and this timeline. So if you look at it, there's a a reduced timeline to try to get this ambulance in our station. The money that we've discussed would include, these bid specs include a power load cot. Right now we have power lift cots. This is a power load cot, so you wheel the cot up to the back of the ambulance, it locks in, it lifts the patient up, loads them into the back of the ambulance, reduces strain on backs, which is a huge liability for us.
Career extender.
So that's it?
Career extender.
Correct, yep.
Barnett, I will make a motion to approve the ambulance request for proposals and bid specs.
Larson, second.
There's a motion and a second. Ryan?
I just had one question. I read through what Zach sent for the RFP, and I think there was one thing on there that said it had to be less than 4,000 miles was one of the things. And what you're saying, Tom, is that there's some demos, you said, and these demos would likely have less than 4,000 miles on them?
Correct.
So
The ones
that'd
we're
be
looking
good.
at, they're brand new demos. So the reason we put the mileage in, because there might be somebody that could bid super low, but they might have 80,000 miles on it. They could have a demo with 80,000 miles on it. We don't need an ambulance that's already
Right, okay.
used
Thank you.
up. Yep.
Gerald?
I must not be looking at the same thing that Ryan is, but the sheet that says bids requested for ambulance, next to the last paragraph, it says the city of Rhinelander will incur a $150 per day penalty to the dealer. Aren't we saying we're going to charge a $150 penalty from the dealer? That's really, I think, what we want.
You're correct.
Do we need an amendment on that?
Gerald, I love you.
All right, I'll make a motion. Did we make a motion?
I did.
You did,
Yeah.
okay. I'll like to make a friendly amendment to fix that sentence that says that the city would not incur, but the bidder would incur the fees rather than the city, so.
Anderson, second.
There's a motion and a
Gerald.
second. On the friendly, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Now, on the original motion, is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you.
Just so the record is correct, that's the original motion as amended.
Yep.
Correct. Discuss and approve resolution 2021-11 pertaining to the sale of county property at Town Line Park. Alderman Daniel, this is yours.
Earlier, we heard the letter from David regarding his position on it, and there is quite a large contingency of people within the city who are working to ask the county not to sell that property. There's a long history, and quite honestly, I'd be here for 20 minutes explaining it all. Anybody who's interested, I can certainly send them the information I was given. They're asking the city to put forth this resolution that basically says we don't support the sale of that portion of Town Line Park. I know that Town Line Park is a property owned by the county, that the city has no jurisdiction over that land. So this is not us saying, no, it can't be sold. This is not us saying, no, it's, you know, a bad idea. They're asking us to back them up. Honestly, I'd be very honest, I don't use that park. I never have. I have no feelings about it one way or the other. So, but I'm just putting this forth as requested. I think Mayor has to call on you. You missed my entire presentation. And
I did.
No. I'm just basically, I've said that the group came to me, asked me to put forth this resolution. I told them that I was happy to do so. However, personally, I do not have any skin in this game. So I don't use the park, and I'm just merely bringing it to the council for their input.
Okay.
Absolutely. Tom?
Funny anecdote. I talked to Dave Walters last week. I returned his call. And I returned his call to tell him that it is still involved in committee. It's still at the forestry committee level. And he happened to be at the forestry committee meeting that night, and he left the meeting to come out and answer my call. But it'll come up to the county board sooner or later, probably later, if it's still in committee. So
Actually, I believe from the news, they reported that it's going to committee.
That it'll be on May
It was on
18th.
Channel 12
it
News.
might be on next Tuesdays, I'm not sure, but.
That's what I heard. That's why they wanted us to come bring it forth this
Yeah.
week, was that it was going to be, they feel it's going to be voted on before our next council meeting.
Gerald?
I move that we approve Resolution 2021-11, recommending that the county not sell parts of Town Line Park.
Okay.
Nikolowski, second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. As well, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I just want to know, I've been following this loosely because like Eileen, I got no skin in the game. I don't use that park. I don't fish there. I tried ice fishing there over the winter, but I think I hit bottom more than I hit any kind of water. So it's not anything that I use, but I would like to know, maybe Alderperson Kelly can, what is the purpose of selling the lake? I have no idea why.
The county is not known for its real estate prowess. So
You're talking to the wrong person.
as we've all experienced. I don't sit on any of those committees, Tom, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
It'll come under discussion at the county board, probably, well, like we said, sooner or later now.
Yeah.
I
David-
can,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think they want to
David?
keep
You can
half
go,
of the
Eileen.
park and half.
David submit his time to you at this point, Eileen.
I was going to give a little bit of background as to why the county was selling that. Like I said, it's a little bit involved, but
Can you give us the Cliff Notes?
let me see if I can give you
Real
the
estate.
Cliff's Notes.
I think they just wanted, there's going to be.
I would like my time after her, but I figured that she was answering Tom's question.
And then, Eileen,
Pardon?
is there some housing they want to put in there?
That's not, I'm not, okay. The real story is long and involved. This is coming from one of the committee members. The public record is, it's been summed up in the press packet, and that's actually what was reported in the newspaper. So that has been reported. Let's see. Oh, here we go. On the record, they created a narrative that it wasn't being used and then promised county board if they agreed to buy $1 million of property in enterprise, that they would sell off a portion of Town Line and offset $153,000 of it.
Okay.
So it was a real estate deal where a company came in and they wanted the county to buy property in enterprise, and they said, well, if you buy this, then we'll take, I don't know, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Property
Yeah.
David.
David?
Abuts the county board.
David?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, as the city has no jurisdiction here, then the assumption is that this is a non-binding resolution. My concern, regardless of the merits of one way or the other, my concern would be for the precedent of getting involved in something like this, even as a symbolic non-binding resolution. I heard nothing from my constituents. If we were to flip this around and think about it, how would the city and city residents respond if the county board started voting on resolutions with regard to what is on our agendas? So I, with all due respect, I would recommend not. I acknowledge the value of bringing it forward to discuss, but I don't see how the city could take any action on this without just Stepping in it.
Ryan?
Yeah, obviously, we don't make decisions for the county. We do represent the city of Rhinelander citizens. And right in the corner there is near the corner, K and 47 area is city property. They don't make land like that anymore on the lake. I think it's valuable. I think it's valuable for the people, even though I do know that it was very underutilized. But I would still remain with my opinion that they don't make parcels like that anymore. So I would be in favor of the resolution.
Tom?
Thank you.
I agree with Alderperson Holt that if we do this, what are the ramifications? I'd honestly, sincerely like our legal counsel to tell us the implications, the risks, the benefits.
Steve?
Yeah. You certainly can voice your opinion as to a issue. You do not have jurisdiction. You absolutely have no jurisdiction. The ramifications as your constituents who do have representatives that represent them from the city, you are not the representatives to the county board from your city residents. So when you're sitting here, you're representing your citizens on city issues. There's somebody else from your district who represents those citizens on county issues. And I think you need to keep that in mind. The only other thing that I would strongly suggest you think about, although I'm not going to tell you what to do, because you can make a decision, you can vote on just about anything, is that it's always dangerous to vote on things that you haven't researched, discussed. As mentioned by Tom, it's been in committee, and it's still in committee at the county level, and you're just hearing about it in a letter tonight, and you're going to vote, and the county hasn't even voted, and they haven't even heard from their committee. They haven't. I think that you can do what you want, but it seems inappropriate for one to take a position when one hasn't researched the position, and then especially when one is not the representative, so one doesn't have to take. Sometimes you have to take a position and you shoot from the hip, but in this case you don't have to take a position because there are representatives of your district that sit on the county board.
Andrew?
Wouldn't this be the same as what we did a couple months ago with some gentlemen here?
Mm-hmm. The mining.
Yes,
For the
For the
mining.
mining.
Yes.
For the mining, correct.
No, it's the same idea. It's a non-binding referendum, resolution. There's a good description that said proclamations are what the mayor thinks, resolutions what basically the council thinks without any legal obligation. Ordinance is what we actually do. So,
Resolutions are not non-binding. Many of your resolutions are very binding, so be careful how you use that word.
but the point being is we put the weight on the ordinance. That being the case, one of the things I'd like to point out is that being informed in this, we're not privy to much of that knowledge at this point, unless somebody's went to that committee, the forestry meeting or whatever. I could tell you the capacity of myself just to get here with moving all the way through item M was a substantial amount of how many errors do we have on our own stuff right now? Gerald will point them out, whether they're Scribner's notes or anything else. There's things there that we need to clean up and take care of ourselves. I'm not saying we shouldn't have an opinion on this. I'm saying it's very dangerous to have a very limited point of view opinion on something that we don't know. Hopefully the committee or the county is taking care of their business and representing their people. And hopefully people are going to them to discuss those things. I got to believe in government is the way it stands. Therefore, I don't need to tell another part of government what to do. And when that time comes, hopefully then we have the strength to do it, know what's right. Gerald.
I just would kind of reiterate that we do represent people in Rhinelander who either have used or potentially should use that park, being so close to the city.
Absolutely.
And I don't see why we can't recommend or advise the county. And if they want to advise us on something, we can handle that.
Yeah, good point. I'm going to say that the idea here too is the idea that's a little bit different is community versus the city. Because our community, even when we look at the use of our parks or anything else, involves a lot more than just our city. Yet at the same time, the obligation we have is to the city, then to the greater community. So there's a weight in it. So, Tom.
I just got one more thing. I have received a few communications from constituents about backing the resolution for supporting what their efforts toward town line. And honestly, I completely agree. I mean, I'm a very avid outdoors person, and I would hate to see any of our lakes get used for something other than what it's being used for now. But I do think it's inappropriate of city council to put their noses in what the county has to deal with. It's a county issue. Saying that, I understand that I have a responsibility to represent my constituents on the city level, which is why I have forwarded every communication that I have and even made phone calls to other county board members that I know and expressed their concerns, my constituents' concerns about Town Line Lake. And for me, I think that is the appropriate route to take, is to forward your constituents' concerns onto your county board members.
Eileen, do you have your hand up? Or
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that the word in the resolution that is key is recommend. We're not telling the county what to do. We're asking them to please consider. We recommend that it's stated that like this. Common Council of the City of Rhinelander recommend the Oneida County Board keep all of historical Town Line Lake Park and work with its citizens to restore this cherished community park so it can once again be used by all.
Yeah.
My thought or my belief is that they are going to the other townships as well and asking for similar resolutions. Newbold, Cashin, Crescent, Pine Lake, all of those, and they're asking for the same sort of recommendation to the county. So it's just recommend, to me, is the key word.
Right. I understand recommend. One of the things that does is it actually has a lot of weight to say I recommend something. And with that weight comes the due diligence or the study of what is it that we're recommending. And that's the part that I would hesitate on, is that if we know those things. That once again, I give it the weight it deserves also. It does say recommend, but I can't recommend something I didn't really read or know what part of the park they're selling. And that's just me, myself. And I'm not telling you as a body what to do, but yes. David.
So I respect the desire or opinions of council members here, including mine, on what they would like to see. I think one of the most important things that Steve Sorensen cited was that we all have representatives as members of wards, that we have representatives on the county board. As citizens of the county, we can voice those opinions as private citizens. And I also, I would agree with the legal counsel that while this is sitting in committee at the county level, I wouldn't want to make any recommendation over something I don't have a jurisdiction over. That's just, regardless of the merits of whether or not they should, what decision they should make, that's my position as a council member.
Due to the semi-sensitive nature of this, I'll ask for a roll call vote if we're ready to vote.
Point of information, what
Yeah.
exactly, so we're voting
To approve this
to
resolution
this
as is.
resolution.
Yes, there was a motion and a second by Carrie to approve this resolution. So please call roll.
Thomas Barnett,
I'm going to abstain because I don't have enough information.
Andrew Larson.
Okay.
Once you participate in a discussion, you can no longer abstain.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you don't want to vote on the resolution, you've got to get it off the table. If it's still on the table, you must, if you participated in the discussion, you must vote yes or no.
Sorry,
Okay.
Tom.
All right, that's fine. Then, I will say aye.
Andrew Larson,
Aye.
Carrie Mikulowski,
Aye.
Thomas Kelly,
No.
Gerald Anderson,
Aye.
David Holt,
No.
Eileen Daniel.
What about Ryan Rossing?
I'm getting there.
Oh, you made it sound so final.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Eileen Daniel. Dang, this is a tough one.
Tough one, Holt and I agreed on one thing.
I agree with everybody on this one, which is tough. I'm gonna say aye. Aye.
Ryan Rossing.
Aye.
Ayes have it, the motion carries, the resolution passes. All right, thank you. Moving on, discuss and approve temporary expansion of alcohol beverage license under 4.0501 on Brown Street between Rives and Anderson Street on Saturday, June 12th, 2021. This is page 70 in your packet.
Rosling, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the temporary expansion of alcohol beverages licenses under 40501 on Brown Street between Rives and Anderson on Saturday, June 12, 2021.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Gerald?
My only question about this was, why isn't the intersection of Brown and King Street included? It seems like that's in that same territory.
Yeah, the application is filled out a certain way. We don't change the application. We just approve it. Is that correct? Teresa? Yeah. If they don't include it, we don't meddle. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Yeah.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. First time in a while we haven't asked Chief's opinion on that. Discuss and approve an agreement for engineering services for the improvement at Hodag Park. This is page 73 in your packet. Rossin, you got to make this motion.
Yeah, I'll, Rosling, motion to approve the agreement for engineering services for improvements at Hodag Park.
Larson, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I'll-
Oh, wait.
I-
It's spending money. You're right. Call
I just-
roll.
Oh.
Ooh. No, you want to talk first?
I think I just wanted to say one thing. It's the important next step in deciding what we can do in those locations for phase one of what we want to do at Hodag Park. So I would, I'll be voting in favor of this, obviously.
Please call roll.
Eileen Daniel,
Aye.
David Holt,
Aye.
Thomas Kelly,
Aye.
Ryan Rossing,
Aye.
Thomas Barnett,
Aye.
Gerald Anderson,
Aye.
Andrew Larson,
Aye.
Carrie Mikulowski.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. Discuss or approve Hodag. Thank you, Ryan, for lasting this long. Discuss approve the Hodag Beach lifeguard contract with the YMCA. Page 77 in your packet.
Daniel, make a motion to approve the contract with the YMCA of the North Woods for lifeguards for the summer of 2021.
Holt, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Oh, and
It's money.
No, did they lifeguard last year?
Yeah, it started after the 4th of July because we took we took the concept of crowd control, but yet still having access to a public beach. If I'm correct, I don't want to misspeak because that was a while ago. Okay, yeah, we had some markers when it came to social distancing and move forward with that. There is money involved, so let's call roll.
Thomas Kelly.
Aye.
Ryan Rossing.
Aye.
Eileen Daniel.
Aye.
Carrie Mikulowski.
Aye.
Gerald Anderson.
Aye.
Thomas Barnett.
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
Andrew Larson.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Ryan. Discuss application for TIF assistance from Riverview Estates LLC for the housing project. This is also an add-on in your packet. It looks like this.
So as the mayor said, this was distributed separately as part of your packet because the digital version was quite large, and so we didn't include it in the packet. But the long and short of this is, I know a number of you were at the Planning Commission last week where the developers presented the project to the Plan Commission for their consideration. Basically a planned unit development with the outlined number of housing units, et cetera. As part of their project, they're seeking public assistance in the form of a tax increment finance district. The city has a number of finance districts, so this is not completely out of the realm of kind of comparison. Their request specifically, as is identified, unfortunately there's not page numbers on there, but in the executive summary, probably 6, 7, 8 pages in at the bottom paragraph is a request to fund $1.5 million in TIF bonds to assist in the funding of the project. Now, this is a little bit different than some of the information that we've received to date, so we do need to seek clarification on that question initially, and actually as it's presented in the financial pro forma, it's through a pay-go, which would be as the increment and the taxes are paid, they get captured in the TIF district, and then they get rebated in effect back to the project as a project assistance support. So again, TIF bonds is different than what the rest of the application, so we need to clarify that. Essentially at this stage, there's a period of due diligence that we must do to review a whole host of aspects to it. One, credentials, references, what do the developers have for capacity? Might they be willing to underwrite a personal guarantee? I mean, all those questions need to be explored with the developers in order for us to make an informed opinion to the council at this stage. I think the need for housing is underscored in just about everything we do and talk about at the city in some form. So we'll need to explore that. We also need to explore the technical aspects of sewer and water capacities at the site. I think the project overall in concept looks attractive, but again, there's a lot more to the back end that needs to be reviewed. So at this point, we'd request the council to give myself and the rest of the administrative team the ability to begin discussing the application with the developer, and then engage Ellers, which is the Sean from Ellers, to assist us in the due diligence. And further, they'll have some ability for disclosures and such that as a public entity we might not be able to provide them. So in case from a due diligence standpoint, to check the back end financials, their setting and situation to make sure that they can truly complete the project as they're proposing. So that would be, I guess, my recommendation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
This at this time is not a contract. It's honestly to move forward with work product to get to a contract. That being the case, taking the direction of TIF, it's direction from the council to say, yes, we want to move forward in this step, which is a little bit of the confusing point when it comes forward in these incremented steps moving forward. But for us to do it without any consideration by the council is really foolish. Gerald?
Well, I have a couple of questions. One is, how does this differ from what we're scheduled to do a week from today? And how does it differ from what we're scheduled to do in closed session? Could you distinguish those for me?
Sure thing. Yeah, the closed session was agenda, just in the event that somebody wanted to go into closed session. I don't think we're at a position where we're requesting
Yeah.
that. It's just, again, if there was any discussion or deliberation that the council wanted to make as it related to the developers agreement, which we're not at that stage either, right? We're not proposing a developers agreement at this point
Yeah.
until we get the parameters established of which.
And what will we be discussing next week?
Well, the idea was over the course of this next week that we would have some form of analysis for the council for consideration. I'm optimistic that Ellers will be able to work through that with us. They thought they might be able to, so that's why we pulled for that date. Part of the schedule components here too is Planning Commission is tentatively scheduled to meet the Tuesday after, next Tuesday, in a special meeting because of legal notices regarding the planned unit development. That was the next available date that they could meet. So if Planning Commission were to give its favorable recommendation based upon the planned unit development, our process is still somewhat independent of that, but they run concurrently. And so that's why you'll see, potentially a
I
special
said I had
council
two
meeting.
questions.
Go ahead.
And the second one is just, go ahead.
No, his point of order would be he would like a motion to be on the table before we discuss that. At the same time with this, as we said, we're just having you direct our work product discussions somewhat appropriate, but
I was making a point of order.
Oh, sorry, my bad. That's a point of order that you weren't making a point of order.
That was a point of information, sir.
Oh, sorry, yes.
I was wondering if you wanted a motion, and I would make a motion to direct city staff to pursue the contract discussion.
Thank you. Do we have a second? All right. Second question, Gerald.
Just wondered if you should recommend to those of us who aren't so familiar with the TIF concept and TIF bonds, where we should learn something about it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. In fact, that's really if there's thirds of the next Monday's presentation, one is to review the existing status of our TIF districts, discuss some potential options. In advance of this development coming to the city, we explored that concept. And then second part is to do some explanation of how and why these financing tools are available to the city. And third, if there's any further consideration about the project specifically. So I would, and we can send out some other resources too. There's some good ones out there on the League of Municipalities website.
That, and even with the work sessions, a part of that was how we budget move things forward, because they're always layered too when it comes to city matching on a study to get to a certain work product, that you get invested in it before you're really invested in it, and people are like, well, aren't we doing that because of it? So the work session will be coming too also to explain some of those things. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Updates on the 2021 borrowing scope.
It's really a carryover item again. It's somewhat dependent upon the process of which will bring the borrowing resolutions before the council. So there's not anything further on this item since our last meeting.
Updating on the initial phase of Hodag Park improvements, excuse me.
Really took care of that through the engineering piece on that item L. So nothing else further at this point, other than we continue to have discussion with potential donors as well as the foundation on how we can co-market and collaborate on a potential fundraising campaign for implementation of the initial phase.
Do not believe we need to go into closed session. So if anybody has nothing to add to future agenda items. Gerald?
Since we vacated Hill Street, or that portion of it, sometime soon should we get a report on what's happening on that project?
Excellent.
And I see you have shared ride taxi program as a suggested item. I think it's important to look at that pretty soon too.
We have that scheduled for the 24th as of today. So
that's it. We are adjourned.